Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take a whole stack of fresh sources and really try to pull out the insights that matter, the surprising stuff. Today we've got newsletters, tech articles, all dated June 17, 2025. And our mission, like always, is to give you that shortcut, get you well-informed, fast, maybe with a few aha moments along the way. We're diving into some really big topics. There's serious tension brewing between tech giants. AI is evolving incredibly fast, almost faster than we can track. And then there are these wild innovations in energy, surveillance, things you might not expect. It's a lot, but we're here to help make sense of what's actually important for you. Ready to jump in?
Absolutely. And one thing that really jumps out from these sources is just how rapidly AI is changing, not just improving, but fundamentally shifting how people perceive it, how they use it.
That shift in utility, that feels like the core of it.
Let's kick off with AI coding agents. I mean, for a bit, they felt like, smart autocomplete, right? Maybe neat trick. But the signals now are strong. They seem to have really crossed a chasm. We're hearing developers say they genuinely can't imagine working without them now. What's changed?
So what exactly is driving that? How did they make that leap?
Well, it seems they've become true force multipliers. That's the term popping up. If you've got the expertise to guide them to be a good editor, essentially, you can delegate some pretty hefty tasks. There was a specific example, right? A developer fed Claude these complex ASCII diagrams of OGoth flows.
Okay, the security protocols between apps.
Exactly. Or even whole DOM trees from Chrome DevTools or the web page structure. And by doing that, they cut down debugging time from 45 minutes down to 10 minutes.
Wow, from 45 down to 10.
Yeah, that's a massive productivity jump. Just wasn't feasible before, really.
That level of efficiency it's almost hard to grasp. But okay, the immediate question is, where's the catch? When do these tools maybe cause more problems than they solve?
That's the crucial point, isn't it? They're powerful, absolutely. But they can also be, and this is a direct quote, dangerous accelerants for confusion if the user doesn't really know what they're doing.
Right, if you don't understand the core problem.
The AI will just help you build a terrible solution much, much faster. And the pace. It's relentless. Every single week, there are genuinely new capabilities. It's hard to keep up.
And people are using them. I saw this Gallup survey figure stop me in my tracks. 40% of U.S. employees are using AI at work now.
40%.
That's almost double what it was just 2 years ago.
It's a staggering number.
Yeah.
And it really shows how deeply this tech is weaving itself into the workplace fabric. But, the adoption isn't even. It's mostly white-collar workers jumping in, tech workers. About 50% use AI frequently.
Okay.
But then you look at production, frontline workers. It's way down at 9%. That gap is growing, and it could really reshape jobs, create almost a two-tier system based on AI fluency.
So, okay, more people are using it. But what does it actually mean for productivity, for jobs, for just, how people feel about work? Is it all positive?
Well, the picture's a bit muddy, actually. There was another survey, this one targeting engineering leaders, and about 60% of them, they said AI hasn't significantly boosted their team's productivity.
60%? That's surprising.
Isn't it? And it gets more concerning. Half of them worry there are actually fewer jobs now for engineers. And 40% think their team is less motivated than a year ago.
Less motivated?
Yeah. So it makes you wonder about those claimed efficiency gains. Are they always translating?
Right.
Or, and this is a bit cynical maybe, some people are suggesting that maybe folks say AI makes them faster, but what's really happening is they're making a, quote, conscious decision to relax their quality standards.
Trading quality for speed. That's subtle but important.
Very. It's a different way of working, potentially.
But AI isn't just about coding or office work, right? It's popping up in some really unexpected places, like Adobe. They've got this new Firefly app out now.
Yeah, on iOS and Android. And what's interesting is it lets you use not just Adobe's models, but also models from Google, from OpenAI.
Oh, interesting. So more choice for creatives.
Exactly. A much wider toolkit. And it's not just creative stuff. Look at the legal field. This firm, Crosby.
Right.
They're using AI with lawyer supervision, importantly, to review contracts in an hour. And they want to get that down to minutes.
Minutes for contract review.
And there's TikTok, their new Symphony platform. It's generating virtual avatars.
Virtual avatars? For what?
For modeling products, doing reviews.
Yeah.
Basically, potentially replacing human influencers for some brands.
Whoa, okay.
It just shows the sheer breadth of where AI is making inroads, industries you wouldn't immediately think of.
And the money involved is just Staggering. AstraZeneca signing a $5 billion AI deal in China for drug discovery.
$5 billion.
Yeah.
For finding small molecule therapies. It underscores how central AI is becoming to, well, fundamental research in areas like pharma. The stakes are incredibly high there.
Yeah. It's fascinating, too, how companies like OpenAI are trying to manage the feel of interacting with AI, thinking about the ethics, the user connection.
Right. Their head of model behavior, they laid out this approach for ChatGPT. They want it to be warm and approachable, but, and this is key, doesn't claim to have an inner life.
So avoiding the perception of sentience.
Explicitly trying to avoid it. A really conscious effort to set boundaries, manage expectations, maybe even the psychological side of things as these models get more sophisticated.
And managing AI also means managing data, right? Privacy concerns are huge. I saw Mastodon updated its terms.
Yes, that's a significant move from the decentralized network. They specifically updated their terms to bar AI models from scraping user data for training LLMs.
So protecting user posts from being fed into AI training?
Exactly. It's a clear line in the sand on data privacy in the age of AI. Could set a precedent, perhaps?
Okay, let's shift gears a bit, because while all this AI evolution is happening, the power dynamics at the very top, among the tech giants, things are getting really, really tense, especially between OpenAI and Microsoft.
Oh, yeah. This is high drama. It looks like their symbiotic relationship is under serious strain.
What's the core issue?
Well, it seems OpenAI wants more independence. They want to, quote, loosen Microsoft's grip on their products, their computing resources. And crucially, they need Microsoft's okay to switch to a for-profit structure.
Yeah.
If that doesn't happen by the end of the year, they could lose out on $20 billion in funding.
$20 billion? The stakes are astronomical.
Absolutely. It's basically a battle over who controls the future direction and monetization of OpenAI's tech.
And it sounds like negotiations aren't exactly friendly. There was talk of OpenAI execs considering accusing Microsoft of, what was it, anti-competitive behavior?
That's the report, yep. Threatening to potentially trigger a regulatory review. It shows just how high the tensions have climbed. This isn't just a disagreement, it's getting confrontational.
And there was a specific example too, right, about an acquisition.
Yes, Windsurf. OpenAI bought them for around $3 billion. The sticking point now is that OpenAI apparently wants to keep Windsurf's coding IP away from Microsoft's GitHub Copilot.
Ah, so keeping valuable assets separate even within the partnership.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It highlights that deep conflict. They're partners, but also fierce competitors, especially in lucrative areas like AI coding tools.
Meanwhile, other giants are making moves too. WhatsApp is finally bringing in ads. That feels like a big shift.
It is a big shift. They're officially rolling out ads, primarily through the status feature, their version of stories.
How targeted will they be? That's always the question with WhatsApp.
They say it'll be based on limited info, location, language, channels you follow, and crucially, users will have options to adjust preferences. We'll see how that plays out. They're also adding promoted channels under the Explore tab. So yeah, monetization is definitely coming to WhatsApp.
And while WhatsApp adds ads, Apple's dealing with another antitrust headache, this time over iCloud backups.
Right. They have to face a class action suit. The claim is that Apple's forcing users to only use iCloud for certain important backups is anti-competitive.
Apple says it's for security.
That's their argument. But the lawsuit basically says it locks users in, creating a monopoly in the space. This will be a legal test to that ecosystem control.
Okay, what about Meta? How are they playing the AI game amidst all this?
Meta's strategy seems quite shrewd, particularly their big investment in Scale AI.
Scale AI, the data labeling company.
Yeah, but it's more than that now. And the co-founder, Alexander Wang, he's reportedly incredibly well connected across the entire AI industry. The suggestion is he seems to know what everyone else is doing, from top to bottom. That kind of intel gives Meta a huge, almost unfair advantage in navigating the AI landscape.
A strategic listening post, essentially.
Kinda, yeah. A very valuable one.
And Meta is also hinting at hardware news, something with Oakley.
Yes. On their web store, there's a banner. The next evolution arrives June 20. That strongly points to new smart glasses. Another push into blending the digital and physical.
We'll have to keep an eye out for that one this week.
And it's not all just corporate battles and hardware. Google's using AI for good, expanding efforts in India to fight scams, partnering with local groups, which is positive to see. And then, the sheer amount of money keeps flowing. Elon Musk's xAI reportedly chasing another $4.3 billion in equity.
On top of billions in debt already for X and X.
Exactly. The race requires incredibly deep pockets.
Okay, I want to switch gears completely because this next one sounds almost made up. A sand battery in Finland, the world's largest, just went live.
Huh. Yeah, it sounds like sci-fi, doesn't it? But it's real, and it's actually quite clever.
So how does a sand battery work?
It's basically a massive thermal storage system. Think huge silo filled with about 2,000 metric tons of just regular sand or crushed rock. They use electricity, preferably cheap renewable electricity, to heat the sand up really hot, and then that heat is stored.
Stored in the sand.
Yep, and it can hold that heat for weeks, apparently, up to 1,000 megawatt hours worth.
That's incredible. What's the point?
For this town in Finland, it means they can use that stored heat for their district heating network. It helps them slash carbon emissions and, crucially, stop using expensive heating oil.
So a low-tech solution for a high-tech energy problem.
Pretty much. Simple physics, clever engineering.
What about the cost? Is building a giant silo of hot sand expensive?
Well, the specific cost wasn't revealed. But think about it. Sand is cheap. Crushed rock is cheap. Building a big insulated silo. It's not spaceship technology. So the economics likely look pretty good, especially compared to volatile fossil fuel prices and carbon costs. It's innovative in its practicality.
Okay, from hot sand to robotic sailboats.
Yeah.
Denmark is using these for military surveillance.
Uncrewed vessels. They're trialing these 10-meter-long robotic sailboats. Voyagers, they're called.
Sailboats, so wind-powered.
Wind and solar, that's the key. It lets them operate autonomously for months at sea. No crew, no refueling needed in the traditional sense.
Wow, months at sea, just
Watching, listening, sensing. They've got radar, infrared, optical cameras, sonar, the works. The goal is to spot things like damaged undersea infrastructure, pipelines, cables, but also illegal fishing, smuggling, persistent maritime surveillance, basically.
That's a huge leap for autonomous tech in defense. Okay, let's go even more fundamental. Random number generation. Sounds boring, but it's critical for security, right?
Absolutely critical. For encryption, secure communication, even things like gaming rely on true randomness.
And researchers are claiming a breakthrough, something spoof-proof.
That's the claim. They're using quantum entanglement. The idea is, well, it's complex, but essentially because the entangled particles are linked no matter the distance, it would be incredibly hard for someone to manipulate the random numbers generated at different locations without it being detected. You'd have to compromise multiple geographically separate records almost simultaneously.
So a much higher bar for security, making randomness truly random, or at least much harder to fake.
Exactly. A potential foundational improvement for digital security.
And you mentioned gaming. What's the future look like there? Thinking PlayStation 6 down the line. Is everything just moving to the cloud?
Sony actually offered some interesting thoughts on this. They basically said, cloud gaming tech has improved a lot, but that end-to-end network stability, meaning your internet connection, the whole chain, that's mostly out of Sony's control.
So latency and reliability are still issues.
Precisely. Which means, according to Sony, there's still very much a demand for local execution of games. People want that reliable experience you get from hardware right there in the room.
So consoles aren't dead yet.
Doesn't sound like it.
Yeah.
And speaking of local execution, we're also seeing autonomous vehicles keep expanding. Waymo just added 80 square miles to its service area in California.
80 square miles.
Yeah. And Applied Intuition, they make AV software for major car companies that just raised another $600 million, valued at $15 billion now. So that's definitely accelerating too.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, it feels like the big takeaway is just how deeply AI is embedding itself everywhere. It's not just a tool anymore. It's a fundamental force, changing industries, creating opportunities.
And creating real friction, real tension, especially at the top, between the giants who want to control its direction.
Right. And we're seeing innovation everywhere, from, the apps on our phones to these huge infrastructure projects like sand batteries or advanced defense tech like robotic sailboats.
It really underscores how technology is relentlessly pushing boundaries. Understanding these shifts, the why behind them, feels more critical than ever, which actually brings up a final thought, maybe something for you, our listeners, to ponder.
Yeah, what's that?
Well, think about this increasing digitalization and automation we've touched on. You've got uncrewed sailboats doing surveillance, AI generating fashion models, AI partners for coders, AI assisting lawyers.
Right, traditionally very human domains.
Exactly. So the question to mull over is, where does the human element remain truly irreplaceable? Is our role destined to be just augmented by AI? Or, looking further out, could some roles eventually be, well, replaced?
That's a big question. Definitely something to think about. Where is that line, and is it moving? Well, that is all the time we have for this deep dive. Thank you so much for joining us as we navigated through all that. We hope you feel a bit more plugged in, maybe spark some curiosity. Keep digging into these topics that interest you, and please join us again next time for another deep dive where we cut through the noise to find what really matters.